Hello all, welcome to another session of SQL training. So in the last class, we covered these topics: order by case, and we saw some scenarios of order by, and then we move forward with or and, like filtering based on or and conditions. Then we move to the distinct keyword, and then we understood the difference between null, blank, and zero. And then we were discussing NVL. So these topics we covered today. Created this is 20th October, and now we'll be covering another topics. Okay. So just created a table: employee, employee ID, employee name, and salary. Okay, with these fields, I've created a table. Now we will see. Okay. So in the last class, we saw that how we can change the value of null with NVL command. So NVL is nothing but a null value logic. So it is used to replace null value with some particular value. Suppose in this particular employee name, the data is not there, it is null over the employee name for this fifth record, for this record, right? Let me just select the table. Hope you have gone through the recording. So this is our table employee. These are the null records. Okay. So our requirement is like we need to replace the null value with some particular value, right? So here, like the employee name has been missed while inserting the records, or maybe he doesn't know the employee name, so he has inserted null. He has not inserted any value while creating these records. So now there is a requirement, like we need to replace the null value in the employee name field with some value, right? So maybe we can give NA, not applied, something like that, in place of this NA, in place of this null. So for that, we have this null value logic, NVL command. With the help of NVL, we can do that. So you just need to mention select star. So star will select all the records from the table, and then you can mention NVL. NVL of what? NVL of employee name. So NVL takes two commands, like one, the employee name, the field in which you need to replace the null value with, and then you need to give the value, what value you need to replace null with. So that value you need to give. So I'll be giving NA, right? Let's execute this and see the result. Why it's giving us error? Have we not inserted? Is it giving issue because of this? Okay. So in Oracle SQL, yeah, after star, it's not working. But in some of the other database, it used to work. Like if you give the star, it will select all the column, and then post that it will create a new field with this one, right? But here it is not working. So here you need to specify the column name. You just mention ID, So let me see the field name. Okay, it is employee ID, employee name, and salary. Employee ID, employee name, and salary. So I want to change the null value in the employee name with some NA value, right? So wherever null was present, it will be replaced with NA. Let's see the result. See, it has created a new field, NVL employee of name, whatever I have given, and then it has replaced this null value. We are having null values in the last record. It has replaced this null value with NA, right? We also covered alias in the last section, in the last class. So I will just give as, let's say, new employee name, something like that. Okay, let me execute this. See, the field will be changed with new employee name. This field has been replaced with name, employee name. Now I will just copy paste and keep the record here. Fine. Okay. So any confusion, any questions in this one? Have you gone through the last class recording? Am I audible, right? Hello, are you able to see my screen, and then am I audible? I think some issue is there with the recording. I will just stop and then we'll. Okay, there was some issue in the recording as well. So just resume the recording. Fine. So we have covered these topics in the last class as well, but just I'm revising this NVL thing. So we have several use cases for NVL command. See, in the employee name, I've replaced this null value with NA. So NVL creates a new field. It doesn't replace in the original table. See, even if you do select a star from employee, so in the original table, you will see the record is present as it is. So it will have null value itself. Right? But it generates a new field and there it will replace the value with NA. Okay, so these things we have understood in the last session. Now suppose we have a requirement like we have to convert this null value with some particular value, and again in the salary field we have to change this null records with some particular records, right? So suppose the BA tells you that okay, we have this requirement that wherever null is present, you need to replace with either 0 or give that as minus 999. Okay. In some cases, they will ask you to give that value with and replace it with 0 so that it will not create any issue while doing the calculation, right? So let's try to do that. So see, we have changed the employee name field and replaced it with NA. Now we have to replace the salary field, like wherever null is present in the salary column, I need to replace with 0. So for that, again, you need to mention NVL. So under NVL, you can't mention two columns at the same time. If you want to do that, So then you need to write separate NVL commands for both the fields, right? So here you can mention salary, and then you need to mention, okay, I want to replace the null value with 0. So then you can do that. You just need to see, I have what I've done. I have written NVL push the field name salary, and then I want to replace that value with 0. So the null value will be replaced with 0. Let's say new salary. Okay. Let's run and see the record. Fine. So we have this new salary field created, and there you won't see any null record, right? So it has replaced this null value with 0. Right? Hope you're able to understand this. Let me know if you have any questions. Fine. I'll just paste it here. I will write the query as well, so that in future as well, like, you can practice this. Even after the class, I used to share the recordings and this classroom notes as well. Like whatever we covered in this class, I used to share the whole query and along with the table DDL statement, like create and insert scripts, everything, so that post the class, you can go and log in into live SQL platform or anywhere in any of the database, and then you can practice these things. Okay, so these things we have done. Now last day we saw that, okay, we also saw the distinct thing. So what distinct was doing? Distinct keyword was doing, like, it was giving us the unique records, right? So distinct is nothing but it will give you the unique records. So see, if in the ID field we have different values, like if you see that 1 is repeated 2 times, 5 is repeated 2 times. So if you just mention select ID from employee, so it will give all the records. But if you are mentioning select distinct ID from employee, so it will only give you the unique records. Just give me in the last class we saw that. Just let me show you again. Okay, distinct ID from employee. Yes, I'll execute that. Why invalid? Okay, so we do not have ID column, we have employee ID. Do mention the column name. Do mention the correct column name, right? Or else it will give this error. Okay, see, now it is giving us the unique records, like 5 unique record is present. Fine. Now we were discussing in the last class that how we can find that. How we can find the duplicate records. By seeing the table, or by seeing the table, we can identify that, okay, so these are the 2 duplicate records present. Fine. But you can't see millions of records. You don't have time to look into the millions of records in the database and then find this out, right? So for that, I have told that once we will cover the count having group by clause, then we'll discuss that how we can find the unique records, sorry, the duplicate records present in the table. Okay, but as of now, like if you just want to fetch the duplicate unique records from the table, then you need to mention this thing before the column name. Fine. So now we will start count keyword. What is the meaning of count? Hope everybody knows that. Count is like it will count the records. So if you have multiple records, like 1, 2, 3, so it will just give you the result after counting. Okay, so you have 3 records present. We used to count, right? So it's just like count keyword. It is just like same. So count will just count the number of records present. Let's see that. Let's write select count of star from employee. So for that I've written count of a star, and then I will execute this. Let's try to understand that what it is doing. So it is giving you the total record present in the employee table. So it will give you the total record, right? So it has counted like how many record is present, and then it will give you the total record. Then why I have written a star? Can I write anything? Let's see. Let's see count of one employee. And then I will execute this one. See, again, this will also give you the same result. Count of 1 and 7 records present, right? Hope it is clear. Again, can I write anything over here? Can I write any number? Yes, we can do that. Let's write some random number. Okay. Let's see the final result. Then I will explain like how it used to work. Okay. Again, it is giving you 7. It is again counting all the records and then giving you the final result. Then can we give select count of some name, right? Let's say Farhan. Can we do that? Yes. Let's see. Let me execute this. It is giving you incorrect, invalid identifier. Why? Just because it is a text value, so you need to give this value in within the inverted comma, right? So let's try that. So it is working fine. Again, it is giving me the total count as 7. So can I write any number, any value, any alphanumeric characters? Yes, you can. So what does this do is, so once you are writing, so we have this table. We have the same table, employee name. And then we have written these things. select count of a star because we're finding the count. And again, all the record is giving me result as 7. Just because 7 record is present. But in the backend, like how it works, if you understand from the SQL engine perspective, so how it used to work, that you need to understand, right? So what it does is whenever you are writing count of a star, then the engine will understand that okay, you want this value to be replaced with star. So then what it will do, it will take a copy, the from clause will take a copy, and then these all the records will be replaced with star. Right? Everything will be replaced with star. And then it will pick one column and then count. So how many stars is present? 7. Fine. So in all these cases, so whenever you are writing any number, star, 1, any number, any character, so it will again replace the whole field with that value present, and it will just take one column and it will count the record present. And that result you will get as an out. Fine. So that's how engine works. But now tell me that okay, if I'm writing select employee ID, employee ID, okay. If I'm writing select employee ID from employer, tell me, is this the query I have written, the last query I have written, is a correct query or not? Because in this count of Farhan, here when I have written a character value and when I have not put that character inside inverted comma, it was giving us error, right? We saw that. So when I will write this count of employee ID, will it work? Yes, it will. Let's see, it will give us the result as 7. Why? Why it was giving us error? Let's try to understand that. When we were writing Farhan or any other character, okay, inside count, and we were not putting inverted comma, it was giving us error. But when I'm writing this EMP ID from employee, it is not giving me error, right? Just because if you are writing any character other than the this column or other than the column present in your table, it will give you error because the engine will understand that you are trying to give a column name and that column name is not there in the table. But if you are giving some random value, random character or alphanumeric value, and then you are assigning that value in the inverted comma, then their engine will understand that okay, user wants me to replace all the value with this particular character and then find the count of the final result. But when you are not giving inverted comma and when you are writing value, engine will try to search for that column in the table. But since the column doesn't exist with that name, so it will give you error. See what error it was giving, right? When we were writing select count of some random character value, any character value you can write, right? So then it will search for this NUR column. What it is saying? NUR invalid identifier. Why? Because you have not created this particular column inside the table. But when you are writing EMP-ID, so since this column is present in your table employee, so it is understanding where a user wants me to count the employee ID column records and then give you the result. So that's why it is giving you the final result as 7. Understood? Okay. So now in this employee ID column, you see, so all the values are there. But if you just see this salary or employee name column, so we have values with null records. Just try to see that what it is doing with how count works with null record. Let me write that. I'll write select count of employee name from employee, right? Let's execute this and understand what it will do. It is saying we have only 6 records present. Why it is so? Why it is giving me only six records, even though we have records present something around 7, right? So we have 7 records present, but still it is giving me 6 records. Why? Because this count of the column ignores the null value. Just because we have one record present as null in the employee name column, so it is ignoring that particular value, and then it is giving you the final result as 6. Okay, so are you saying that salary, in the salary column, if I will write count of salary, so it will give me 5 record only? Yes, you are right. Let's try that. Just because 2 null records are present in the salary column, so it will ignore the null record, and then it will give you the final count as 5. Let's see that. Yes, is giving me the final record as 5. Correct? Understood? So you can say that count of column ignores the null record, null value, anything you can write. So this is like a net. Okay, you can say that, right? But when you are writing any value, it will not search for null, or it will not see any value. It will just replace all the records with a star or whatever value you are putting, and then it will just count that. So hope it is clear. Any question in count or in NVL we covered in last session? Okay, let's make the class interactive, or else there will be like you'll so feel bored. It will become like a college lecture, like where I'm just explaining, where the teacher is explaining and you're just listening it out. Let's ask question. Let's discuss this. Okay. Okay, so I'm taking no. So this count is covered, but we will have different scenarios. See, this count is not covered yet. We have many scenarios of count, and we'll be seeing when we'll cover other topics. Okay. Fine. Now, what you can say that, okay, these topics we have covered. So our topic was, okay, let's, have I covered? No, I have not covered group by, right? So with group by. Yeah. So what does this group by used to do? Can anyone tell me? Is anyone aware about this topic, group by? Okay. So the task or the work of group by is to create unique buckets. Group by task is to create unique buckets, right? So what does this mean? Okay. The task of group by is to create unique buckets. So what does this group by do? So group by will do nothing. It will create unique buckets. So once you are writing group by, so it will create buckets. Okay. So these buckets it will create. Will create something like, okay, these buckets it has created. Or you can say, okay, outside what? Fine. This bucket it has created. What it will do, it will create unique buckets. Let's say we have this table. I will try to explain it. Okay. Simple term. Just give me a minute. I will insert some records and then we can discuss. Let me insert the table. Let me create the table. Then we'll insert this one record. Okay. Let me insert some more records. Fine. We have these many records. We have this record present. So I've inserted the record. Let me take the table detail. Let me select the table and then I will explain over the Excel. Fine. So we have this table. Now, what I was telling that group by will create unique buckets. See, I'm explaining group by here. So group by will create unique buckets. So what does it mean that it would create unique buckets? So inside group by, so when you are writing group by, you need to mention the column name. Suppose you are writing group by ID. So you want to group these values based on the ID column, right? Based on the ID column, you want to group these records. So then it will see that how many unique record is present in this ID column. Suppose we have, okay, this one is unique, right? 2 is unique, and then 3 is unique. So it will create 3 buckets. What does bucket 1 will take? Bucket 2, and then you can say bucket 3. So in the bucket you will have 1. Okay, so 2 ones are present. Let's keep both the ones. So one bucket is created for record 1. Second bucket is created for record 2, just because these are the unique values. So for all the unique records, buckets will be created. Fine. So these many buckets are created. Let's see that. Let's try to check. So how you need to mention that? Just mention select a star from a student group by ID. So you want to group based on the ID column. So you need to mention ID here. Let's see why it is giving me a record error, because here you need to mention ID. Okay, so see these, so only three records are, 3 unique buckets are created, just because 3 unique records we were having in our table student, right? So 1, 2, 3 has been created. Is it fine? So the same we have created, right? 3 buckets we have created, 1, 2, 3. So the task of group by is to create unique buckets, nothing more than that. It will do just create unique buckets. Now let's see. Okay, I've told that count is not covered yet. I mean, we have covered some scenarios, but we will be seeing count in all the topics, all the coming topics, right? Let's see count. Let's mention a star. So we have understood like what count of a star does. Okay, let me write this. Let me execute this. What it is doing? It is counting the values, this particular ID, right? So we were having 2 duplicate records for the ID1, for ID2, and 1 for ID3. So it is just counting that value. Oh, you can say that, okay, tell me how this is working. So I will explain you that. 1 second. First, you understand that, okay, group by task is to create unique buckets. Any confusion in that? So now, select ID count of star from a student group by. Let's see how it works in the engine perspective. Let's understand the order of execution first. Fine. So what is the order of execution? So we have order of execution. SQL keywords. So what it will do? So like the keywords are executed in which order? So that order we have some fixed order. So that I'll be writing in second. And then we'll explain this. A group by, and then you can say aggregate. Obviously, also in last class as well, we covered, we have seen some scenarios or some keywords of order by execution. Now here I am covering all the SQL keywords for order of execution. Fine. Okay. So how does it works is, see, we know that from a student, like we have this query, what from student will do, it will create a copy of the student table, right? Will create a copy of the student table and keep it in the temporary memory. So it has done that. Now it will see that, okay, post from, see, from comes first in the order of execution. Now after from, what other keywords are present? Joins, on, where. Do we have these keywords? No, right? So we have group by. So we'll move to group by. Okay. Now let's see group by. So what group by task is? To create unique buckets. So group by will, we have written group by ID. It will see the ID column and then it will create unique buckets. So it will create buckets. So in buckets 1, we have this 1 value. Then in bucket 2, we have 2. In bucket 3, not here, in second. In bucket 3, we have this third record present. Right? So these 3 buckets are created. Now these 3 buckets are created. Now what engine will do, that post group by. The group by task is completed till here. But post group by, we have this aggregate thing. What is the aggregate? As of now, just understand that this count comes under the aggregate function. Okay, so we have this aggregate, like some function comes under aggregate. So we have this count, min, max, average. So these keywords comes under aggregate function. So as of now, we have mentioned count. So now it will see that, okay, do we have any aggregate keyword here in our query? Yes, we have this count of a star, right? So now what it will do, it will count the value. What it will count? Just because it will see that, okay, user wants me to count the star value. So it will replace the value with star, right? So now this count will do. Okay, here we missed one thing, that this group by has created the buckets, right? But in this bucket, we have these 2 records present, right? Again, in bucket 2, we have 2 records present. Now the count, what count will do? count of a star will not refer to this table. What it will do, it will refer to this table, these buckets which have been created. Okay, so now it will count. It will replace these values with a star. Okay, just take that. Just say what it will do. It will replace all the value with a star. And then it will count. Okay, two records, and one value. So for bucket 1 we have 2, for bucket 2 we have 2, for bucket 3 we have 1. So it will count that thing and it will keep the final count here. Now see, post group by aggregate, do we have these keywords? No, we have this select thing in our query. So now it will display that value. So what you want to be displayed? ID and count of a star. Okay, so it will show you that value 1, 2, 3, and then it will give you the count. Like for ID 1, we have 2 values. The count is 2. For ID 2, we have 2 values. For ID 3, the count is 1. So the same result you are getting over here. If you can see this, let's try to understand and tell me, is it not the same result we are getting what we have extracted through query? Right? See, for ID 1, the count is 2. For ID 2, the count is 2. For ID 3, the count is 1. Right? So it has counted that value. It's done nothing but just replace the bucket values with a star, and then it has given you the final count, and then post that it has seen that okay, what the user wants. User wants ID and count of a star, so it has displayed you that value. ID and count of a star value. Is it clear? Any confusion in this till now? Tell me, any confusion in this count, NVL, group by? We have different scenarios, but any confusion still here? Okay, confusions, fine. So suppose what we are doing, we are counting the star value. Okay. Okay, so that's all for today's session. We will have next topic in different in another session. Okay. Okay, tell me, do we have any questions from the assignment? I have shared the assignment over the chat. So any questions or any confusion in those assignments? We'll discuss the assignment question. Then if you have any questions from the assignment questions, or else we'll end today's session and we'll discuss another topic in another session. Okay, so these things we completed. So we have some scenarios of group by that I will be covering. This count is completed. These things are completed. Group by we have completed. Having we have to see. Order of execution we have completed. Okay, and these are the aggregate function I was telling. That I will be explaining in another class. Okay. Any confusion? No questions? Fine. We'll end today's sessions. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining the class.